Today I'm going to explain to you, to the best of my abilities, the Atomstack app. The app allows you to operate your laser engraver from your smartphone. It is a pretty cool app. It has some engraving templates in there that are pretty neat. It has some cutouts, it has some other stuff like that that's pretty cool. It is a free app, so that's kind of what makes it enticing, especially for a beginner. So I would say that this is probably geared more towards a beginner. You can play with your laser engraver. You can get everything you need without having to pay for a subscription to Lightburn or something like that. Now, is it as much as Lightburn is? No, it is not. It is a way for you to get started and a way for you to see if you actually like what you're doing. I wrote an email to Atomstack and I got my hands on this user manual. I'm going to put a link down in the description for this user manual. I'm not going to go over everything that is in this. I'm more going to open the app. I'm going to show you some of the stuff in there and how to get engraving. And it's pretty simple in all reality. I'm going to be using my IKIER X5 Pro. I did a video on this a few weeks ago, unboxing and review. I've done a few things with it, and I've worked with the Atomstack app a little bit, and let's get going. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of stand behind the camera. I'm going to hold my phone in front of it at a reasonable distance where everybody can see what's going on. And we're going to go to this app, we're going to open it, we're going to bring in a new project, and we're going to engrave it. I am not going to video the actual engraving of the machine engraving it, maybe just a little bit to get started. However, it's more about using the app, so loading it in and so on and so forth, and then some of the things that are going to take place in that process. So right here on my phone you'll see the Atomstack app. We're going to click on that and there we go, opens right up. So it's got my laser engraver already loaded in. If it doesn't already have it, because you're new to the app, it's going to ask you to connect your laser engraver, and it will either do it automatically or you can do it manually. It gives you a large selection of laser engravers to choose from to get started. So first, let's just kind of look at what they've got here, and this is just kind of some recommended cases. So there's plenty here. And some of these are cutouts and some of them are engravings. If we tap this little arrow right here next to recommended cases, it's going to change us over, and then we have themes, cutting, stitch, Halloween, Christmas. So you can kind of scroll through. We can side scroll over to, let's say, Halloween. And some of these are cutouts, some of them are not. We can go back to stitch, to cutting, Christmas, and it's just kind of loading all them in. So if we get rid of them and we go here, we can go to latest, and some of these are cutting, some are engraving. So there's tons and tons of patterns in here that you can choose from. We're going to pick one of these and engrave it in a little bit. A buddy of mine wants a deer, so I think that we're going to work on that here in a little bit. So let's go back to the very beginning here. We're going to go home right here at the bottom where it says the little house. We're going to go home. We're going to select a new project, and I want to go to my gallery, and I want to select this one right here. This is a painting, a watercolor painting that my mom did, and I want to see what it's going to look like on a piece of wood. So this is the grid of the laser engraver. So it's not quite the correct size, but here at this bottom corner we can adjust the size that we want. As you see, the scale is up here. We can drag it wherever we want to drag it on the graph. That doesn't matter a whole bunch. Over here we can lock it, and here we can layer it. So as you see, it just kind of layered it. We can layer it again, but I don't want to do any of that, so let's move all that back to where it was, and there we go. So now what I want to do is get this correct size and get it framed in. Now here's the thing, you kind of want to do all this before you connect to your laser engraver. Get your project loaded in, get everything ready, then we'll connect to the laser engraver, because once we connect to the laser engraver, it is going to eliminate my Wi-Fi connection. So my phone basically will no longer work. The laser engraver is going to take it over with its hotspot. It's going to eliminate all that stuff. That's so there's no interference between the two, especially while it's engraving. So let me get a piece of wood in there, and then we will get this framed out and start engraving this one. So I went on Amazon and I found these 12 by 12 sheets of basswood, and I did engrave a picture of my grandson on one of them, and I kind of liked it. They're not super grainy looking, and it engraved really nice, and they were fairly inexpensive. It was like $18 for 10 sheets in each pack for like $18.99 or something. Good deal. I'll put a link down in the description for these. I'll also put a link down in the description for this X5 laser engraver. This is a good starter laser engraver. It's inexpensive. It's not going to cost you a ton of money to get into. Let's pick a halfway decent one here. I don't want a whole lot of grain color. I think we're just going to go with this side here. It's the lighter side. And we're going to set it down in there. Now what I've noticed is that there is a little bit of warping to some of these sheets. It's not the end of the world, right? So I've just been using some double face tape to stick it down where I want it to be and to push any warp out of it. So this one has a little bit, it's rocking from side to side, so I'm just going to take a little tape and I'm going to stick it down in here. So I'll do that and then we'll be right back. So now I've got this picture in here, and I've got it at near 11.81 inches, and the width is not exact, but it's a little bit over in width. So what I want to do is I'm going to make it frame it. Now we can go back and forth, so we're going to go ahead now and connect to the laser engraver. So it's going to say here, please connect to the engraving device first. Okay, so now it's trying to do it. My phone should be close enough for it to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead, and here's all your choices of laser engravers that you can connect to it. And there's a lot of them in here. So I'm just going to select this, and it's going to say that it's connecting devices, and we're setting up the LAN. And we're going to use settings and just once, and the laser engraver is right here, but we don't need to stay here. We're going to go back. It's connecting, and I've had some issues in the beginning where it wouldn't connect. So, and we should be close enough for it to connect. It has a little antenna on the laser engraver, and you have to use a flash drive that they send with it to put into the USB slot to use this app. So, and that's the other thing that there's not a ton of specifics on. So it says that my device connection failed. So this is kind of what I was talking about. is that it has given me a little bit of grief in the beginning to get set up. And who knows, maybe I'm a little too far away. I don't think that's the case. Last time it took me 2 or 3 times to get it to connect. Probably the worst part of this, but once it's connected, there were no issues at all. So let me go ahead and get this connected and we'll move on to the next step. We are now connected. It took about 3 tries to get there. So now what we want to do is right here at the top where it says next, we're going to hit next. And then it says, please select the material first. So here we are at our material, and there's not a huge list of materials here. So we're just going to go custom. And this is at 5%. So this is where we select our power. And then down here we select our material. So bidirectional engraving is on. The line interval, I'm not going to mess with it. 1 pass. The speed, we're going to turn that up to about 700. We'll go 678. You can tap it here and put in the manual number. Now I'm still kind of experimenting with all of this. For this picture here, I want to go at about 60, I'm going to go about 67% power. So we're all set up there. Now we need to once again go next. Our wood is about 3.94 inches thick, and then here we can start the engraving from the current position. So the current position is wherever I put it. So we can tell it to go home, and it's going to go home. So that's what it calls home. Now if I tell it to frame it from home, it's going to frame it just like that. So we can already see just by doing that the piece of wood that I'm using is not big enough. So all we need to do is click on the picture. We'll go back. We'll go right here. We'll make the picture a little bit smaller. Bring it back down here. And then go to next. And then we can tell it to frame it again. But since I'm using current position, I am going to go ahead and manually set the laser right there, right on the corner of my wood. Now that is home. I'm not going to hit home. I'm just going to tell it to frame it. And we are still slightly too large, so let's go back. Let's make our photograph slightly smaller, bring it back down, go to next, tell it to frame it. It's pretty much what we want. I could nudge it over just a little bit more this way. Now I'm going to tell it to frame it again, and I'm going to look and see where it comes back down the other side. I nudged it just a little too much. Right there. We'll frame it one more time. Now, I'm happy with that, but now let's get it more in the center of the board. So I'm going to go about right there and tell it to frame it again. And you can see visually how much wood we have here and how much we're going to have here. It's pretty close. We could nudge it just a little bit more. Alright, I'm happy with that. So now with this picture in, everything's ready. We're going to hit start. And it is going to ask me if I'm sure I want to start. Yes. The G code's being generated. File transfers in progress. Once it gets the file transfer in, then it is going to tell us how long it is going to be before the engraving is finished. Sometimes this file transfer goes pretty fast, other times not so much. Depends on how intricate the picture is that you want it to engrave, or the image. Okay, here we go. So this says it is going to take 49 minutes to engrave this. So we're going to let it get started here. You can see the lines that it's already developing at the bottom of the piece of wood. It's moving a little bit closer here. So you can see what it's already doing right there, the line that it's building. So we are going to let it go, and then we'll come back in a little bit and see what we get. Since engraving the picture was a failure, we're down here at the bottom of the screen in the app. We've got edit, filter, adjust, crop, mask. We're going to go to filter. Filter will allow us to change this to black and white. Don't like that so much. Grayscale. I kind of like that. Sketch. Not so big on that. It just kind of takes too much away. Spotting. I'm not so big on that. And inverse. Inverse is pretty cool looking, but it's obviously not going to engrave it like that. So I'm going to set it to grayscale, and then we'll go here to adjust, so then we can adjust what we're seeing in this image, so we can lighten it or we can darken it. And obviously we don't want to. This is kind of the neutral setting where it was at. In the center one, we can lighten the background more, or we can darken the background more. So I kind of like it with that lighter background. Now let's go ahead and put a little bit back in it like this. Maybe darken that background up just a little bit, and then this will way brighten it up to the point where we don't. I'm kind of liking it about right. Maybe a little bit brighter. Let's back this off. I'm okay with that. So then we'll just go back. It'll lock that in now. Do you want to save it? Yep, save it. Enter a file name. I'll put a file name in there, and then we'll go from there. Now I'm going to go through the same process. I'm going to just move it down here. I'm going to alter the size of it just a little bit, and then I'm going to frame it, and engrave it. So we've already done all of that. So let me go ahead and frame it and get the engraving started, and we'll take a look and see if this is going to engrave better than the actual photograph. Since it wasn't going to be color anyway, it doesn't really matter that I've changed it to a grayscale. I've got everything all set up. I've framed it a couple times. Now we're going to start. It's going to load in the file, and we'll know right away as soon as it starts engraving if it's going to turn out better than the photograph. So the file transfer is in progress. Almost halfway there. Once the file transfer gets in, then it'll start engraving. So last time, like I say, when I did the picture, I changed it into a sketch, and it kind of did that. So, and this is all part of the learning curve of one, an engraver, and two, the program that you're using to run it. So here we go. I can already see a big difference in what it's doing. The line is very pronounced. So this is going to take a little while for this to get done, and when it is, we'll come back and take a look at it. But you can see the line developing. It's already engraving it much darker, so I'm hopeful that this comes out to be much better than the first try. Okay, it has finished engraving. Let's take a look. I think I could play with the scale some more and get it even better, but for now I'm going to call this a success. We get this tape off, and then we're going to take a closer look. So that is how it engraved, and this was the image that it engraved it from. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think what I didn't realize is how much white kind of got up here in the top of the tree. Let's go back to the original picture, and you'll be able to see we lost some of the original picture here. It is not horribly bad, but it could definitely be better. It got the clouds in there pretty good, so it did a fairly nice job. We could have been a little bit darker in here. I should have darkened this up, I think, just a little bit more. I think it would have been better. But anyway, that's how you can go from nothing to something. Let's just flip this over, and I will tape it back down, and we will find a template in here to engrave right in the app itself. So we're just going to go back. We're not going to save that current project. We're going to go down through here. A friend of mine wants me to engrave him a deer. So I know they're in here, so we just have to find them. So let's go here, and let's go to just engraving. Let's expand this, and here's engraving. So now this is just going to give me engraving projects, although not all of them are. Some of them are cutouts. Let's scroll down and see if we can't find a deer. Here's a wolf. This is all it's showing me, but I know there's more because I looked through hundreds and hundreds of engraving. Let's go to the latest. Let's go to try popular and see what we get. Oh, I know why I'm not getting what I want, and it's because I am not currently connected to the internet. I am still connected to the laser engraver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead right now, turn the laser engraver off, so that the Wi-Fi connection between my phone and the laser engraver drops, and then I will be able to connect to the internet. There we go. I got my internet back. I just got a notification. So now I'm just going to go ahead, close out of this, close everything, and we are going to go back to Atomstack, reopen it. We're going to expand this, go to engraving. There's an elk that doesn't look bad right there. There's another elk there. I don't kind of like that one. A little generic. And if you see what I mean by there's just tons and tons and tons of engraving projects in this app. Couple more here. Out of those choices, I liked the very first one we found the best, I think. So I'm going to scroll through, find one. I'll show you what we got. We'll get it loaded in and engrave it. Okay, I've selected this deer right here. This is Pierre David's deer 2. Then it comes down to the information. It's engraving. It's intended for 3.0 millimeter basswood. That's actually what we have in there. And then it tells you some other stuff. But right here at the bottom, it says open in Atom. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And now it is going to want me to log in. So I'm going to do that using Google. Then I'll go ahead and get my email address in here. And then I will log in. Okay, now that we're logged in, we're going to move it over to the Atomstack, and there it is. So let's click on that. Now it's kind of the same thing. Oops. we're going to make it bigger, move it up. So there we go. I am going to frame that out and see what that looks like. So we're going to hit next, and we have to connect because I turned it off so I could get the app. So it's the same thing. We're going to connect again. Once I get connected, we'll get this rolling on. So I'm connected. I've already framed it. Make sure I like what's going on here. My distance is away. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're going to hit and start. Yep, we're going to start. So there's the G code. And away we go. So this says it is going to take 1 hour and 7 minutes. And as you can already see, let me move you here. The engraving that is starting is much darker than what we had previously with the other picture. It's just, this is programmed for, or this is designed for engraving, where the picture that I put in is not necessarily designed for engraving. So we're going to let this thing go. We'll come back in a little bit and we'll take a look. We are about halfway there, and as you can see, this is a much different result than what we got with the photograph. So we're going to let this keep going, and when it finishes up, we'll come back and look at it. I want to say real quick first, I have an old phone that's no longer connected to service. However, you can still connect it to the internet, and that is what I did. I installed the Atomstack app on that phone. Then I can do all of this stuff with the internet connection. Come out here after it's already loaded in, connect to the engraver. I no longer need an internet connection because the engraver creates the hotspot that the phone connects to. So they're just connected to each other right now, and it does not consume my phone. For this video, yes, I am using my phone, not that extra one, so that I could do everything right here in the shop. Okay, it has finished engraving. You can see what we've got here. It is obviously much better quality. This was set up at 65% power, and I ran it a little bit slower as far as the engraving went. Pretty happy with what we've got here. It doesn't look bad at all. Alright guys, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with the Atomstack app. You can do cutting. There's just so many things in there you can do. It's pretty cool. This laser engraver is only a 5-watt engraver. Can it cut material? Yes, in multiple passes. I would need to dig into the cutting part further. I do not have the honeycomb bed to do the cutting, and that wasn't my original intent when I got this. My original intent was just to do some engraving, and to do engraving on the possibility of some cutting boards, per se, put people's names on them and stuff like that. So with that in mind, that's why 5 watts is plenty for me. I do need to get some other stuff for this that I currently don't have, but I'm pretty happy with the engraver itself, and I am pretty happy with the Atomstack app. So, and I think as far as like people's names and stuff like that go, I can go into Canva, create them, bring them in as an image, and engrave them that way. So it's some stuff I'm going to experiment with. But I can bring them into the Atomstack app and run them through that way. At this point in time, I don't want to pay for a subscription to light burn or something like that. I'm just not using this machine enough. There's so many other things I've got going on that, you know, this is just a little part of it right now. So anyway, down in the description you'll find the link to the Atomstack App User's Guide, and you'll also find a link to the Amazon if you are interested in this IKIER 5-watt engraver. You can pick it up. I actually have a promotional link. I'm not sure if it's still active. I will check into it. I believe in the promotional link you can pick this up for $155 or something like that, $159, something like that, plus shipping. Otherwise they're around 200 bucks. And it's not a bad way to get started, and it's not a bad little laser engraver. It is a fixed focus, all that good stuff, but at the end of the day, if you just want to do some engraving, it's not a bad deal. Alright, that's all we got for this time. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. We are home repairs, and we are going to dabble in some woodworking. I like woodworking, so we're going to dabble in some woodworking as we move forward. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those two videos that are going to pop up next to me, and remember to always respect the power of your power tools. We'll see you soon.